Blessed day, Earth family, soul family, fellow Earthlings, those that are on a mission to improve themselves, improve the world, improve their shared space, and contribute. It's Tai Chi Tuesday today, so I want to welcome you and thank you for joining. I'm trying to get this settled here. This is the calendar series of the Martial Mystic. I'm Javi, and once again, I want to welcome you. Yesterday, we talked about Mental Health Monday, and we went through a concept of transparency in terms of mind and body and one's pursuit of regulation and training. Eventually, we're going to get to this concept called tending in contrast to regulation. But for today and for the rest of the series, we'll talk about regulation because it's actually used in the Chinese scholars actually used the term regulation as tiao, tiao sen, tiao yi. What else? Anyways, there's 5 regulations. What we want to talk about today is light body and light mind. But what I want to first, what I want to first say is, remember that Taiji Chuan is rooted in martial arts training and skill. So it's rooted in martial arts training and skill. So it has the concept of contact, Qigong, and dispute regulation or dispute resolution. But because we have Tai Chi as grand ultimate, it's a philosophy based on traditional Chinese medicine. So, and it comes from the Tao Te Ching, an ancient document over 6,000 to 8,000 years old. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of techniques. There's a lot of styles of Qigong. There's a lot of family styles of martial arts and Qigong. And we're not going to get into which one is best. What my teacher says, because a lot of people ask him, what's the best Qigong? And he would say the best Qigong is the one that you use. The best Qigong is the one that you use. And this comes down to skill. And this comes down to Gong Fu and Kung Fu. Because Kung Fu is time and energy to acquire skill, capability, and aptitude and proficiency. So here's what I want to say that I want to think about and pose to you. Something that I just learned from my mediation teacher recently. When the emotion is high and the trust is low, then the rules of engagement need to be spelled out. When emotion is high and the trust is low, the rules of engagement need to be spelled out. In this context, let's flip the word engagement to interface or exchange. Now, here's the thing about Qigong that I've always appreciated, and its lens. If everything is made of energy, energy cannot be created or destroyed, then it's only transforming. That means there's constantly energy exchange that's always happening. So the rules of exchange need to be spelled out when emotion is high and trust is low. Now, here's also what I want to say. Came across this article that I agree with and I found very enlightening. And it helps to point to this concept of self-defense. As I just said, martial art is rooted in, or Taiji Chuan is rooted in martial arts. And Chinese martial arts are about stopping the weapon, stopping conflict, um, resolving disputes, and minimizing conflict. Doing what you can to not escalate or initiate. And this comes from, I want to give credit to randykinglive.com. The number one mistake in self-defense, as we talk here in Taiji Tuesday. Here is how I define self-defense. It's not just about the second a punch is thrown or a knife appears. It's about everything else before, during, and after the moment. It's a full spectrum understanding of danger, prevention, decision making, de-escalation, and when needed, physical response. So here's a key term, prevention, that we find in medical Qigong, in illness prevention, and utilizing that now here for dispute resolution, conflict resolution, and preventing hand-to-hand combat. This is called the 80-20 approach. 80% of self-defense is education and awareness, reading situations, understanding intent, and making proactive choices. Only 20% is physical. If your training is flipping those numbers, you're not preparing people, you're performing for them. So that's a little bit of a message to the teachers and to the facilitators. If your training is flipped from of that 80-20 approach, you're not preparing people, you're performing for them. Now I'm going to throw this line in here and to let me know what you think. Our battle should not be fought in the streets. Our battle should be fought in the mind and in the minds, in preventing and in decision making and in de-escalation. So here, I'll conclude here by saying, teaching students to solely rely on physical skills is a situation where they're likely outmatched is not just naive, it's dangerous. We need to teach smarter. So, if any martial arts teachers are listening to this, let me know what you think. So many self-defense classes drop people straight into the worst case scenarios, pinned, cornered, already hit, but no one's asking the most important question: how did I get here? How did I get here? The question is the gateway to prevention, not just survival. Because we're talking about prevention of conflict and prevention of death. When it comes to self-defense, we're talking about life and death. Think about grappling. Ask any seasoned coach the best way to escape a fully sunk rear naked choke, and most will say, don't be there. And we need that mindset in self-defense. Avoidance, awareness, and pre-contact cues aren't sexy, but they save lives. And this is what came to mind regarding the situations in the streets that we are seeing today with people being killed. And I would imagine this is hard for people to hear, but my self-defense training tells me to not be there. My Tai Chi training tells me not to be there. My Tai Chi training tells me to coil out for one's life and for one's death. And that's a balanced approach to self-defense. Not being there. Now I know that people want to say, well, you have to get out in the streets, you have to make your voice known. That's why I say I think today the battle is not in the street, but it is in the mind and also in the spirit, which is the morale. I'm not saying to have a low spirit. I'm saying, yes, to raise your spirit to the occasion. So that's just something to think about. That's a thought. That's a thought. And I would encourage you, and I would encourage others to try to find original thought. Try not to repeat what other people are saying. I repeated what this person's saying because I, I think it's helpful um, today. Our January poetry gave us the idea that when thoughts are ceased, then the spring can blossom. And the spring has to do with, I should have said it before, the spring has to do with Wu Ji, thought of no thought. Wu Ji, neither yin nor yang, characterized as the void, insubstantial, and no polarity. Eternal peace, abundant source, the herb of life and healing is Wu Ji, the grand ultimate Taiji. Once we start to get into the yin and the yang of things, we get out of source. We come into the material dimension where we are, and we still hold the imprint of Wu Ji, but we are in the yin and the yang dimension. So we need to learn how to understand, and I'm learning how to understand how to be in yin and yang in the material, earthly realm and dimension. Going back to thoughts, the February poetry tells us, do not be afraid of the initiation of a thought, but be afraid of the delaying of its perception. Be afraid of the delay of the awareness of the thought. I think this coincides with not being there. Or why did I end up there? How did I end up? Why am I here? How did I get here? If you find yourself in a self-defense situation in the streets, you made a thought to go into the street. Don't be there. Now you are aware. And look, I've made mistakes and I've made wrong choices, bad bad decisions, bad choices that could have cost me my life. So I bring this consciousness of life and death because I've been close to death, and I consider ego death very substantial. And ego death is when you think that you have or know, and you find out in a humbling fashion and experience that you do not know. And so it is that awareness of the thought. If you learn like me the hard way, then you become aware of the thought in a little bit of a delayed way. You have to go the hard route to have that awareness of your thoughts. So I implore you, in your meditation, in your intellectual pursuit, this is just one energy center in your mind. Be conscious of the space between thoughts. Try to find that space between thought and the thought of no thought, that Wu Ji place. Because that is going to help you come to this place of lightness, transparency, mental health, and the downstream effects of mental health, where you are acting in accordance of life, living, and nourishment. This is the pursuit of Tai Chi training. This is the opportunity of Tai Chi training. I know you see people doing slow movements. I know you understand that Taiji Chuan is a moving meditation, but it's also connected to these concepts and to these ideas that we cannot articulate and do a disservice in trying to articulate right here, right? But this comes back to interface. This comes back to the rules of engagement, when the rules of engagement need to be set out, because emotion is high and trust is low. External conflict and interfacing, engaging with external conflict mirrors how you have habituated your internal conflict. Just in mind and body, two as one, we experience internal conflict. And if you're here and if you're watching this, you understand and you've experienced internal conflict, seeking the balance of mind and body. The white is the material, yang, what you see. The black is what we don't see, what we cannot see. But within each of those has a seed of the other. Within each of those has the seed of the other. And look, this circle tells us that yin and yang are encapsulated by Wuji. So I have this on yinyangtaichi.org as the full story, the whole story of yin and yang. I know we like this pattern and we like to see it. To get a full understanding of yin and yang, then we need to look at Tai Chi and we need to look at Wuji. Tai Chi is how we get from Wuji to yin yang. It is nature's template. And Tai Chi is the way out of stagnation. Tai Chi is the way out of stagnation. So this is on yinyangtaichi.org. What I describe as a peace movement, literally, that can help build the habit of internal conflict resolution and set a stage for external conflict resolution, which is why I've pursued mediation, which is why I pursue nonviolent communication. Let me know if that resonates with you. I'd love to hear what you think. Remember, we've got to try to embrace the woo. But we're not done yet. Here in Tai Chi Tuesday, we're looking at Taiji Chuan movement. Here in the Martial Mystic series, calendar series, we're looking at the yin and yang of the body. When we want to have full integration and full body movement, we have to take the time to train and regulate and tend to lower body and upper body, left leg and right leg, left arm and right arm. And when we spend time to regulate differentiated parts, Dan Siegel, we can integrate those parts and create coherence. Coherence here, because when we come to regulating the body, we want to have a full body movement. When we are moving with the whole body, 6 bows, 2 legs, 2 arms, spine, and chest, we are connected to the earth below and the sky and the heaven above. 3 powers in the large universe, mirrored by the small universe. Heaven in the upper energy center, Dantian, lower energy center, earth, middle energy center, heart. This is where I've been putting my intention, is in the heart energy center, because the heart, humankind, is the mediator. Heart and humankind is the mediator of heaven and earth. On Mental Health Mondays, we talk about the bottom-up approach to mental health, regulating the body, bringing the body, full body, whole body into coherence to have the downstream benefit and effect of mind coherence, spirit coherence, energy coherence, emotion coherence, as we have 5 regulations: body, breath, mind, chi, and spirit. This is what I wish for myself, coherence of these 5 regulations, and what I strive to communicate here to you and with you. Tell me what you think. Drop a comment, send a direct message. You can also dive in into one of the courses. I've added more courses to our page, yinyangtaiji.org. Just a simple 5-day intro and challenge. You want to go deep? 100 days of sitting meditation. You want to add resistance, feel pressure, load, bearing weight, and learn muscle tendon changing, and raise your spirit, yin spirit, not yang spirit, then you might be interested in high vibe kickboxing. Prevention, illness prevention, 4 Seasons Qigong. Soft body, soft mind, as we'll get to. Transparency, light body, light mind. Mastering the spine wave is going to help you find light body, light mind. Let's go to double weighting. In Tai Chi, we have a phrase called double weighting. We talked about the rules of engagement, the rules of exchange. When emotion is high and trust is low, then the rules of engagement need to be spelled out. So, when emotion's high, trust is low, engagement, double weighting is meeting force with force, pushing against force, pulling against equal force. A combative mindset and approach. And this eventually leads us to a head-on collision. This is not the way of Tai Chi. Tai Chi is 1 ounce to repel 1,000 pounds. Or it's, I have it right here. 4 ounces. If you can use 1, you are master. 4 ounces to repel 1,000 pounds. This is the rule of Tai Chi, a rule of Tai Chi, to prevent double weighting, to prevent clashing, to prevent conflict, to prevent course head-on collision. This is my teacher's book, Taiji Chuan Theory. In order to reach the goal, do not commit the common mistake of double weighting. Shuang Song. Mutual resistance. If you commit this mistake, you will be in a situation of competing forces with your opponent. In this case, you have lost the basic principle of using 4 ounces to repel 1,000 pounds. We need to understand that we are going into the streets and the rules of engagement are not explicitly laid out. That's why in self-defense, you don't want to get caught in the streets in a chaotic situation. So going back to don't be there. Take the battle from the street into the mind. And look at all the technology that we have here where we can share ideas and build sustainable movements where you don't meet force with force, because you won't be able to outforce these large forces. The only thing that can meet and outdo the things that you want to get rid of in the world is this. Wu Ji. This is the only thing that can balance everything. The insubstantial, the void, the grand ultimate. So we need to hold the Wu Ji consciousness. Hold the Wu Ji consciousness as we are in the yin-yang world and the yin-yang realm. And be there, but not be there. Be there, but not be there. Be there, but not be there. And you will attain and you will have the intelligence of Wu Ji, nature's intelligence, not your artificial intelligence that will take you on a head-on collision. In my nonviolent communication training, I came across the concept of enemy imaging. Enemy imaging helps to sustain force against force, mutual resistance, double weighting. What is enemy imaging? What are enemy images? Marshall Rosenberg writes that enemy images are the thinking that says there is something wrong with the people whose actions or values we don't agree with. The thinking that there is something wrong with the people whose actions or values we don't agree with. I came across this article that was very enlightening, and I really appreciated this mediator writing about this and spelling this out. This is on mediate.com. It may occur to you as the reader that these judgments, see if I can zoom in. These judgments, they're talking about, gosh, this is kind of annoying, huh? These judgments, they're talking about in the mind. Let's just say you're thinking about all the things in the world that are viral in the world right now, and you have an opinion or a judgment about them. These judgments don't have any effect if not said aloud. However, in my experience, they have a profound effect on others. I'm not talking about some kind of mysterious communication of my thoughts directly to another. I believe these thoughts get communicated through my micro movements, my choice of words, basically my overall demeanor. When I have a judgment of myself or another, an enemy image, my body will release hormones and neurotransmitters consistent with having that thought. The natural consequences of the release of these chemicals is that my internal experience, as well as outer muscular movements, will be consistent with having those judgments. Others pick up on these judgments unconsciously. We're all extremely attuned to each other's emotional state, having been in training since we were infants to read each other in this way. It's not surprising to me that it is typically not a conscious process. Research suggests that the amount of information being received by our nervous system and brain unconsciously is far greater by 1,000,000 to 1 than the amount that we are able to attend to consciously. Are you aware of your thoughts? If you're not aware of your thoughts, that doesn't mean that someone can read symptoms of that thoughts from your words, your tone, your body language. So it's incumbent on us to regulate the internal conflict that we have and judgments. The highest form of intelligence is observing without judgment. Judgments are like the weeds in the garden. When you're trying to grow your own food and the weeds are infringing upon the fruits and vegetables and salads and seeds and flowers, weeds are like judgments. So we have to tend to them, circulate them out. That is the bottom-up approach of mental health. That is the opportunity of moving meditation and Taiji Chuan, movement medicine. Not to double weight, having the skills to resolve conflict, engage with conflict. If you choose to be there, because remember the first rule in self-defense is to not be there. But if you choose to be there, know the rules of engagement and where you want to go. These are the skills and the practices that that myself and my partner aim to embody. Listening, understanding, connecting, harmonizing, trying to understand subtle feedback, staying engaged, not avoiding, having the courage to engage, but building the skills and agreeing on the rules of engagement. When you have two conscious individuals who can communicate and speak for themselves, you can create agreements on how you decide to engage with one another. And we have to remember that conflict is inevitable. Taiji Chuan gives us that opportunity to regulate energy that needs to be circulated out and circulated through so as not to avoid and so as not to escalate conflict. And it creates it requires a full body approach and experience while you are engaging with the person, because not only are you giving information, you are getting information. So you're asking the mind to be processing so many different things all at once. How can we best take one thing apart and look at it take a look at our differentiated parts so that we can learn to bring them all together and create coherence. Two as one, one as two. This is the pursuit of Taiji for couples. This is the dream of Taiji. Two as one and one is two. So that's why we decide to pursue and offer this Valentine's offering, Taiji for couples. And I don't know if it's going to be, a online workshop this year. We have done that in the past, but if you're looking at this and that's something that you're interested in, let me know, because we're going to be doing a workshop in person. You can go to yinyangtaichi.org and find Taiji for couples, and you'll find more information about this, and it'll tell you what it's about. What's Taiji really about? And you'll learn a little bit about what is Taiji Chuan, what is Taiji, why couples, what can you get out of this? And so this goes back to our dispute resolution systems. Remember, I was saying that instead of introducing ourselves as what we do for a living, I sort of envision this socialization, normalization, where we introduce ourselves with our dispute resolution systems. Because as we interact, exchange, and interface with one another, we have to keep in mind that conflict is inevitable. So what are your dispute resolution systems? And how can you best articulate the rules of engagement and the rules of exchange so that when emotion is high and trust is low, you can be prepared? So again, if that speaks to you, if that sounds like something that you think is important, I think it's important. We'll talk on Resolution Thursday. I want to leave this realm free of conflict and with a peaceful heart and a peaceful mind. So I do my best to mitigate conflict, prevent conflict, not be there. But if I want to be there, I equip myself to engage and interface. And finally, I'll leave you with the concept of transparency as we finish the thought from Mental Health Monday. And look at our goal, one's goal, humanity's goal. In Taiji Chuan, the goal is to harmonize your spirit back to the spirit of nature. Because when you leave this earth realm, you no longer are yin and yang, you go back to source. See, this cycle is a birth cycle, and in reverse, it's a death cycle. It's a death cycle. Wuji is the seed. Why do we see spirals in nature? Seashells, hurricanes, small sprouts and saplings, the large redwood trees, spirit of the redwoods, to yin-yang. And then you have splitting until you have the myriad of things. But this is also the death cycle. Tai Chi is also the death cycle. There's a yang phase, like the bloom of a flower, and then it dies off. It dies off, and through Tai Chi, it takes us back to Wu Ji. The life and the death cycle is represented, thank you to the ancient scholars who gave us these images. So, light body and light mind goes to the regulation of transparency. And that is how we can produce mental health and physical health in today's environment, regulating light body and light mind for transparency. And this parallels with the goal of Taiji Qigong, as translated by my teacher. See, Taiji Qigong is a step towards Tai Chi Chuan. From Qigong to Tai Chi Chuan, you have to learn Tai Chi Qigong. And that starts to get you in touch with your energy, moving meditation, theta state, which we talked about yesterday, for the sake of transparency and mental health. Once you reach the stage of transparency, you will be able to clearly feel the state of your body's yin and yang and adjust them until you reach the state of Wuji, no extremity, that circle, that solid circle. When you've grasped the Wuji center, you will be able to return your whole spirit to its origin, the state before your birth. Your chi will unite with the chi of nature. Your spirit will unite with the spirit of nature, and you will become one with nature. This is the final goal of enlightenment and Buddhahood. And so, as I leave you and as I thank you, I want to draw your attention towards enlightenment. For a lot of meditators, enlightenment is the pursuit. And before we leave, I just kind of want to throw out the idea to you. What if enlightenment was another way of saying mental health? Because mental health can change from one moment to the next. We never know what moment will leave this realm. We never know what moment enlightenment will appear as we meditate. But what if we just use mental health as a stepping stone to enlightenment? Try to produce those moments of light mind, light body, not weighted and not double weighting. I want to encourage you to embrace the woo. And until next time, may your chi flow smoothly.